The material found in this video can be located in Chapter 1 of Human Anatomy and Physiology 11th edition. In particular, I am going to talk about what terms are needed to describe anatomy. So, two basic types of term here. We've got anatomical position and directional terms. So, anatomical position. Here's a definition from your textbook. Body erect, feet slightly apart, palms facing forward with the thumbs pointing away from the body. And this is demonstrated in this illustration from your textbook. So you can see here that the thumbs are facing away from the body. The person is standing upright with the legs slightly spread, feet facing forward, normally, I suppose. The big one here is thumbs are facing out, so palms forward. That's anatomical position. The reason this is important is that we're going to talk about directional terms. And so depending on which direction your palms are in, for instance, it might be confusing whether, for instance, the thumb is medial or lateral to the pinky. So with anatomical position, that's going to give you the correct answer. So in this case, we have the thumb is lateral to the pinky, which is more medial or midline. So now let's get into some of these directional terms, which again are always based on anatomical position. And they're going to help us to describe the position of one body structure in relation to another. So maybe it's the position of the thumb versus the pinky finger. Maybe it's the position of the shoulder versus the nose. It's always one versus another and always based on anatomical position. So here are some of the major terms, along with definitions from your textbook, as well as a demonstration of what it means. So, superior. This is also known as cranial in some places. So superior or cranial, as in the cranium, that's your head, more or less. This is toward the head or upper part of the body. So shown here. So anything low is going to, or anything high is going to be superior to anything lower than it. So in this example, the head is superior to the abdomen. We can also have inferior or caudal. This is away from the head. The example provided is that the navel or belly button is inferior to the chin. So the navel is inferior to the chin. Anterior or ventral, it's at the front of. This is the breastbone is anterior to the spine. And posterior or dorsal, the heart is posterior to the breastbone. So we'll need to be using these terms, especially when you start getting into lab and the lab practicals. Here we have medial, it's toward the midline, which is shown here. The heart is medial to the arm, for example. We have lateral, the arms are lateral to the chest, so that's out away from the midline. And finally, we have intermediate. So we can say that the collarbone is intermediate between the breastbone and the shoulder. It just means between. Now we have proximal, distal, superficial, and deep. So proximal and distal are paired. We have, in this example, the elbow is proximal to the wrist. It just means that it is closer to the origin of the body part. So in this case, the arm is attached via the shoulder, and we can now say that to the rest of the body via the shoulder. And so we can say the elbow is proximal to the wrist. We could also say the wrist is distal to the elbow. The example they provide here for distal is the knee is distal to the thigh. So that means that it's further away from the origin point of that particular body part, the leg. Superficial, which is also known as external, is toward the body's surface. So the skin is superficial to the skeletal muscles. That just means that the skin is outside the skeletal muscles. It's external to the skeletal muscles. And deep is the opposite. So the lungs are deep to the skin. They're deeper than the skin. They're more internal. All right.